So here's a basic overview of how we're going to actually conduct a stream fish population assessment. When sampling fish, we run into a very basic problem, and that is fish are really good at moving through water. Depending on where you sample, these fish can move upstream or downstream, which makes it very difficult for us as scientists to determine how many fish are within a given length of river. To overcome this issue, we install block nets on the upstream and downstream side of the reach that we want to sample. What this effectively does is traps all the fish in between and creates what's referred to as a closed population. Once we do this, we can simply go in and capture all the fish between the two block nets so that we can determine how many fish are present. Here's a photograph of an installed block net. As you'll notice, this is a very fine mesh net, about 1/8 inch in diameter. So it's really small and no fish can actually swim through the net. Likewise, we install a bunch of heavy rocks on the bottom of the net to make sure that the fish can't swim underneath it. And we suspend the upper end of the net above the water line so that fish can't jump over it. Now, this block net is on the lowermost portion of our sampling reach. We have one installed on the upstream end as well in the same exact fashion. By doing this, we create a closed population that doesn't allow any fish to leave the sampling area while we're doing our assessment. So how do we actually capture fish within water? Well, within stream environments, we actually use what's referred to as a backpack electrofishing unit. What this does is create and use electricity to stun fish for us as scientists to capture within nets. Now, it's important to note that this requires specialized training and safety approaches to safely use this equipment. We use rubber gloves and insulated waders to ensure that scientists are not shocked by the electricity produced by the backpack unit. I must stress and emphasize, never play with electricity in water. These are trained professionals that are taught how to use this machine to safely capture fish, to ensure the safety of the people collecting fish, but also so that we don't harm and hurt the fish that we're collecting. Remember, we're there to help their populations. We don't want to harm them while sampling. So when we want to evaluate the numbers of fish between our upstream and downstream block nets, in essence, how many fish are within our closed population, we often use what's referred to as a depletion approach. And what we do is we go from the bottom to the top between the two block nets and try and capture as many fish as we can. We capture those fish, we put them in buckets, and we place them in live wells where they're safe and protected. We do this multiple times, and we refer to these as passes. So typically, we'll get our sampling team together and start at the bottom and use our electrofisher to capture fish as we move higher and higher and higher up towards the upper block net. Once we make one pass, we count all the fish that we have, place them in a live well, process them, and then we go and capture the remaining fish in pass 2, doing the same sampling approaches. Once we're done, we count the fish, place them in a live well, and then in the third pass, we go and do the same procedure. By doing successive passes, 1, 2, 3, we continue to reduce the number of fish within our closed population. And once we do this, we can use some basic math to determine the total numbers of fish present within that sampling reach. So what do we do with the fish that we've collected? Well, we want to collect some basic information to help tell us something about the populations we're sampling. If we know something about the lengths of the fish or the weight of the fish, it can tell us something about how healthy they are. Are they too skinny? Are they well fed? They can tell us something about how old the population is, because larger fish are older, smaller fish are younger. So often we'll measure things like total length, which is just the length of the tail to the nose, or we'll measure the fish in terms of their weight. These pieces of information are really, really essential for making informed management and conservation decisions for fish. Now, heading back to our depletion approach, As you see on the left-hand side, we have our Pass 1, our Pass 2, and our Pass 3, as I previously described. On the right-hand side, we have some numbers of fish that were captured within the reach. So during our first sampling pass, we captured 300 fish. We captured those fish, we processed them, and we placed them in live wells outside of the sampling area. Now we're hoping that on the next pass, there are fewer fish because we just removed 300. And that's exactly what we found. In Pass 2, we captured 150 fish. We processed them, placed them in live wells, and then ultimately we go out and conduct our third pass. In the third pass, we captured 75 fish, processed them, placed them in live wells. Now, through the depletion approach, what we're hoping is to capture fewer and fewer fish with every single pass. What this does is allow us to approximate, using some basic math, the total numbers of fish if you were to continue doing successive passes. Now we can determine then that the population size for this reach has an X number of fish per meter squared or per 100 meters of river. These types of information tell us something about population sizes and how healthy and productive fish populations are. This ultimately informs whether we as fish biologists, conservationists, and managers need to intervene and conduct management actions to help improve the population, or it tells us something about the population and how we need to protect it.